Well, let's bring in Dr. Abah Innocent, who's president of the Association of Resident Doctors at the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital. Good to see you, and thanks for your time. Not to get a moment for doctors and even Nigerians, but again, let us in on, give us an update on the issue which concerns Dr. Ganiyat Popoola.
Thank you so very much. Good evening, Nigerians. Good evening, viewers across the globe. The issue at stake currently, our colleague, Dr. Ganiyat Popoola, a resident in the Department of Ophthalmology at the National Eye Care Center, Kaduna, was kidnapped right in the hospital facility alongside her husband and her nephew on the 27th of December 2023. Today makes it exactly 8 months and 2 days. And it's been a lot of back and forth with regards to her release. We have engaged security personnel, we've engaged relevant authorities, and it's been 8 months. And we've not been able to have any substantial update with regards to effort for her release. We have engaged the Kaduna State government, and the discussion has been ongoing, and this is 8 months.
So in your engagement with security agencies, no response whatsoever? I mean, they've not given you any kind of updates at all. And I do understand that there's been a meeting between your association, Resident Doctors, and the Minister of State for Health, Tunji Alausa. What's the outcome of that meeting?
Well, for 8 months now, before now, it may interest you to know that there wasn't any substantial effort. But recently, when this decision was taken, we had a National Executive Council meeting of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. We met in Kaduna. We drew attention of government to this. We had another National Executive Council meeting in Katsina. We drew government's attention. And so, for us, this is like the last resort, because you cannot beat a child and not allow the child to cry. This is a Nigerian that was at our duty post, and she was kidnapped. And this is 8 months. Dr. Ganiyat Popoola is a mother, is a wife, and is a Nigerian. And it is the responsibility of government to provide security of lives and property. So for this colleague of ours who has, intentionally decided to stay back to offer her services in the healthcare sector, and then to be met with this kind of...
When you say stay back, I mean stay back in the country and not,
yes,
and not follow the Jackpot syndrome.
Of course, of course.
Just to clarify
Of course.
Right.
So,
but you had this meeting with the Minister of State for Health. Am I correct?
Well, we're beginning to see a lot of engagement in this regard. But we believe this strike has called on government's renewed attention to this. And we are hoping and we are open to more meetings, hoping that something substantial will come out of the meetings.
Dr. Innocent, is there a word from her captors?
Yes. We have proof of life. We have evidence that she's alive. She has communicated with the husband and the family, and this is what gives us the hope that if she's alive, then we must rise up to drawing government's attention to this. Before now, there are a lot of our colleagues that have been in captivity all across Nigeria. Time will not permit me to list some of our colleagues that are currently... There's a case of kidnapping of Professor Ekanem Phillips at the, in Calabar. She was abducted. She's a professor of stroke medicine. She was abducted right in her clinic. And there was a case of a kidnap. Even as I talk to you right now, there's a case of kidnap in Lokoja. Right. Currently, Dr. Fada Hussein.
And sorry to cut you, and it brings to the fore the issue of safety in workplaces. Because for Dr. Popoola, we understand she was kidnapped from the residence of where medical professionals live. And for the professor, picked from the clinic. So is this also a conversation you're having with the minister and the security agencies to further protect these facilities?
Thank you so very much. There is a targeted attempt on health workers, doctors specifically. as it stands. So this kidnapping, we are not talking about highway kidnapping. We are talking about kidnapping right in the health facility. So it's a targeted kidnap. And this is why we're drawing government attention that this is an emerging pandemic, and the earlier attention is given to it, the better. Because you are a doctor at your workplace, you're not safe. How do you compose yourself to be able to offer healthcare services to your patient when you know you're not safe? Now, there are very obvious reasons why we are beginning to have this targeted. There are some of our colleagues that were released and we interacted with them. Our colleagues are made to offer clinical services in detention camp. And this is the reason. And this is why we're beginning to draw government's attention. And it may interest you to know that the kind of kidnapping that we are noticing, you know, where a doctor, before now, once a ransom is paid, the person is released. But we are talking about 8 months. What is she doing in the detention camp? And this draws our attention to this anomaly. Because, again, some of our colleagues that were released, they narrated how they were made to offer services right in the camp to mercenaries of these kidnappers that are wounded and are not able to,
It now really is logical. It seems to make sense now that you put it that way. Because I was actually going to ask if you know, doctors, the medical, sector, if you believe that this are just opportunistic, attacks or kidnappings, or it's actually targeted at your profession, the medical profession. But with what you've said now, it seems to, make sense. So where do we go from here? Because this strike, I mean, patients are groaning under the pain of not being attended to, at the hospitals. Your strike is a 7-day warning strike. What happens next?
We are hoping that within this time, and that is why it's a warning strike, government has the capacity. There was a case of kidnapping of the 20 medical students, and when we called on government's attention, they were released. We believe that government has the capacity to be able to, put measures for the safe release of our colleague. 8 months counting. We don't know who is next. So we are using this opportunity again to draw government's attention to this emerging anomaly, because the earlier is tackled. Now, when you wait for too long, it becomes very complicated. So once kidnapping occurs, and you take proactive measures, then you're able to tackle it. So this is our cry, this is our clamor, that government pays attention to these issues of kidnapping at workplaces and this attack on doctors.
Before we let you go, some of the few things we'll ask now is 8 months. Has there been any sign of security around facilities, health facilities?
Thank you so very much. Before now, we used to have police posts right in the hospital. We used to have police attachment right in the hospital. Again, that also gives credence to the part where government is also expected to provide security for public institutions. But unfortunately, we've not seen any of this. The police attached to the hospital,
is that part of the demands you're making of government to ensure, that security posts are returned to institutions like yours?
Exactly, is one of our demands, because again, the hospital needs to be made safe for not just doctors. Again, we want to appeal to Nigeria that this clamor is not just because a doctor was kidnapped. Dr. Ganiyat Popoola is first a Nigerian before being a doctor. So we also want government to, be proactive in tackling insecurity in all of its institutions. There are a lot of Nigerians currently in captivity, and the issue of insecurity is taking different dimensions. And so this is an appeal. Government knows what to do.
It's a good place to leave it. Dr. Abah Innocent is of the University of Abuja, President, Association of Resident Doctors. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. And we wish Dr. Ganiyat Popoola a safe return to her family. We do understand that she's a nursing mother, and one just wonders, the condition of that family. Thank you.